No one dared to help the aliens except humans. Best HFY story is the Galactic Concordance was in a state of quiet panic. For generations, the Council had maintained a delicate peace. A web of treaties and trade agreements that bound thousands of star systems together. But now, a shadow was falling across the known galaxy, a threat that made even the most stoic and ancient races tremble. They were called the Vorlag, a civilization that seemed to exist only to consume. Planet after planet had fallen silent after their fleets appeared in orbit. They didn't conquer, they harvested. Worlds were stripped of all life, all resources, their atmospheres ignited, leaving behind nothing but charred, sterile husks. The Concordance had dispatched its finest fleets. Fleets that had quelled rebellions and policed entire sectors for centuries. They were annihilated. The Vorlag ships were unlike anything they had ever encountered, seemingly immune to their energy weapons and kinetic strikes. A wave of despair washed over the galaxy. Race after race withdrew, fortifying their borders, hoarding their resources, and praying the swarm would pass them by. Helping a world under Vorlag attack was seen as suicide, a futile gesture that would only draw the swarm's attention to your own home. And then, they came for the Xylos. The Xylos were a peaceful avian species from a lush garden world, known for their beautiful songs that could resonate with the very fabric of space-time. They were artists, poets, and philosophers, not warriors. Their small defense fleet was obliterated in minutes. As the first of the Vorlag harvesters descended through their atmosphere, the Xylos sent out one final, desperate plea across all known channels. It was a message not asking for military aid, which they knew was impossible, but for evacuation. They broadcast the coordinates of their nursery worlds, hidden in a dense nebula, begging for anyone to save their young, their future. The message was filled with the heart-wrenching sound of their lament, a song of utter despair that echoed across the silent void. On the bridge of the Galactic Concordance flagship, High Counselor Thrax, a being of crystalline intellect, watched the plea. His multifaceted eyes dimmed. He knew no one would answer. The risk was too great. Helping the Xylos would be like trying to save a single drop of water from a tidal wave. It was a nobly but ultimately pointless death sentence. The channel was filled with static, the lament of the Xylos fading into the cold silence of space. But the silence was broken by an unfamiliar transmission. It was raw, unencrypted, and pulsed with a strange, chaotic energy. "This is Captain Eva Rostova of the Terran exploration vessel Odyssey. We read you, Xylos. We're on our way." The message sent a ripple of disbelief through the Terrans, the newcomers, the loud, messy, emotional primates from the Sol system. They were a junior member of the Concordance, a species barely a century out of their own solar system. Their technology was considered rudimentary, their ships clunky and inefficient compared to the sleek, elegant vessels of the Elder Rysas. What could they possibly hope to accomplish? Counselor Thrax watched the Terran ship's icon on the star chart. It was a single, tiny light, moving with reckless speed directly toward the Xylos system, a system now swarming with the red icons of the Vorlag fleet. It was by all logical metrics an act of sheer insanity. He opened a direct channel. "Captain Rostova, this is High Counselor Thrax. I must advise you to turn back immediately. You cannot possibly hope to face the Vorlag. You will be destroyed." The reply came back almost instantly, the captain's voice firm and laced with an emotion Thrax couldn't quite categorize. It wasn't arrogance, but a kind of grim determination. "With all due respect, Counselor, we're not going there to fight them. We're going to pick up the kids." There was a short pause. "Someone has to, and it looks like we're it." The line went dead. On the bridge of the Odyssey, the atmosphere was tense. Alarms blared as the ship dropped out of warp on the edge of the Xylos system. The view screen was a nightmare. The beautiful green and blue marble of Xylos was already scarred with fire, and the space around it was thick with the jagged, insectoid shapes of the Vorlag ships. "Helm, get us to those coordinates." "Max evasive maneuvers," Captain Rostova commanded, her knuckles white on her chair's armrests. "Shields too full. Divert auxiliary power. Engineering, I need every ounce of speed you can give me." Her first officer, a stoic Vulcan-like being named Kale, turned to her. "Captain, our chances of reaching the surface are less than 17%. The chances of escaping after are, statistically negligible." Ava looked at him, a faint, wry smile on her lips. "Never tell me the odds, Kale. Just keep us flying." What the Concordance didn't understand about humans was their unique approach to problem-solving, an approach born from a history of clawing their way up from the mud of their own world. They called it improvisation, or more colloquially, making it up as you go along. The Odyssey wasn't a warship. It was an exploration vessel, but it was packed with tools for surviving the unknown. As they plunged into the atmosphere, dodging blasts of plasma that sizzled against their straining shields, they began to deploy their solution. They launched dozens of deep-core mining probes, not at the Vorlag ships, but at the system's massive, unstable asteroid belt. At the same time, they ejected their entire complement of solar sails, massive gossamer-thin sheets designed to ride stellar winds. But they weren't using them for propulsion. Instead, they charged them with a massive static field. The effect was immediate and chaotic. The mining probes, armed with powerful kinetic charges, slammed into the asteroids, shattering them into millions of fragments. The statically charged solar sails acted like giant magnets, pulling the newly formed debris field into a swirling, unpredictable storm of rock and ice, right in the path of the Vorlag fleet. The Vorlag, whose tactics were brutally efficient but rigid, were caught completely off guard. Their formations, designed for planetary assault, were broken as they were forced to divert fire to the incoming storm of shrapnel. It wasn't a weapon that could destroy them, but it was a distraction, a massive, system-wide smokescreen. Under the cover of this man-made chaos, the Odyssey streaked toward the designated rendezvous point, a hidden valley where the Zelos had gathered their young. The ship's massive cargo bays, designed to hold geological samples and research equipment, were thrown open. Ramps descended, and the crew, a motley collection of humans in rugged environmental suits, began herding terrified Xylos fledglings aboard. They didn't have the sophisticated teleportation beams or stasis pods of the Eldoraces. They used their hands, forming lines, carrying the small, trembling creatures, speaking to them in calm, reassuring tones that transcended language. The Xylos, who had only ever known peace, were stunned by the raw, coordinated efficiency of these strange, soft-skinned mammals moving through a maelstrom of their own creation.